Well, hey everybody, and welcome to this midweek review with Mr. John. I'm trying to keep it calm. I'm trying to stay just, you know how it is when the thing that you like the most, the holiday you love the most is coming up, and it's the greatest time of our lives. It is Christmas is coming, and I can't wait. I can't tell you how excited I get about Christmas, and I know you have probably got your calendar marked and got how many days until Christmas. And this is the season that we get all those great gifts and we just love that time of year. But guys, I'm going to tell you, it's not truly what Christmas is all about. I don't get overly excited about gifts and things like that. Like, I am not a present guy. I only get excited over one kind of thing, and that's like funky socks. I love funky socks and kind of shoes too. I'm kind of a shoe guy. So, but I'm not a gift guy. The reason I get excited about Christmas is the reason for the season. And we're going to talk about that all month long. Today we're going to talk about a story about two people, Zachariah and Elizabeth. You see, Zachariah and Elizabeth were cousins to Mary, and we're going to talk about Mary next week, but Zachariah and Elizabeth were a little bit older. Not going to say they were old, because I don't know what old was back then, and I'm getting up there, and so, but they were old. They were beyond childbearing years, and Elizabeth was desperate to have a child. And back then, it was really frowned upon. Women were looked down on if they couldn't have children, and she was just kind of really wanted to have a baby. And Gabriel, the angel, comes and tells her she's going to have a baby. Later on, Gabriel goes to Zachariah and says to Zachariah the same thing. Zachariah, you're going to have a baby, right? You're gonna have a baby. And it really is like Zachariah is like going, yeah, right, whatever. He didn't kind of really believe it, I don't think. And Gabriel kind of goes, man, how can you question God in this? I'm blessing you with this gift and you're going to do that? Well, guess what? You're not going to be able to speak. You won't be able to say a word throughout this entire time. And so Zachariah and Elizabeth, you know, Zachariah is working in the temple, and he is like not aware that Elizabeth is already pregnant. And so when he gets done with his stint of working in the temple, he comes out and there he sees Elizabeth, who is very much pregnant. And so it's like he's like excited. He's like, oh, I'm gonna be a father. But guess what? He can't say a word. The angel has taken away his voice. He can't speak. He can't give his exuberance, his excitement. And Elizabeth is showing. And this is where Mary comes into the story a little bit. Mary, who hears about Elizabeth being pregnant, comes to visit her. And she has been visited by an angel too. And Mary is pregnant, and we know who's in Mary's tummy, right? We know that the baby Jesus, who is really tiny at this time, not as big as Elizabeth's baby, who we also know the name of, his name is John. And we'll talk a little bit more as we go on about who this John was. But when Mary and Elizabeth meet, they sit there, they exchange pleasantries, and something crazy happens. The baby inside of Elizabeth, the baby John, does cartwheels, backflips, break dances. I don't know. It just kind of goes nutso over the baby in Mary's tummy. It realizes, can't see, we don't know how the brain works in this stage, but the baby inside of Elizabeth immediately knows that the baby inside of Mary is super special. Now, The visit ends and Mary goes back on, and we'll talk more about that next week and in the following weeks about the things that happen there. But Zachariah and Elizabeth goes to have the baby. So she is in labor. She's sitting there and she's doing all the things she needs to do to have a baby, and she has the baby. And so the women around her are like going, listen, what are you going to name the baby? You got to name the baby. Hey, you haven't had a baby yet, and it's great to keep the legacy. Name him Zachariah. Name him after the father of your baby. That would be just amazing. It would be a wonderful thing. And she goes, no, we're not going to name him Zachariah. We're not going to name him any other name except for one. We're going to name this baby, and you heard it, John, right? They're going to name this baby John. So now, back then, the guys were doing their thing. They were probably in the man room of the waiting room area. And, I don't know, they're probably sitting around talking and just discussing. And the subject comes up. And it's, hey, Zachariah, no, you can't speak, but you should be naming this baby Zachariah. Keeping the legacy of your name, carrying on through the ages. That's what you should do. The baby should be named that. And if you don't name it, you just be crazy to name it any other name, right? Zachariah asks for something to write on. He doesn't hear what Elizabeth says. He doesn't know what's going on. And he takes his tablet and he writes on there, his name is, you guessed it, John. He named the baby John, not knowing what Elizabeth said. Both of them had said the name was John because the angel Gabriel had told them what they were going to name the baby. She didn't tell. And they didn't tell each other. They didn't know. But together, they named the baby John in separate areas. And so that's like mind-blowing, right? But what's even more mind-blowing is this baby, this cousin of baby Jesus, comes to be known as John the Baptist. What a great story. And the angel Gabriel is highly influential in this story, and he will be in our later stories too. So make sure you listen to hear where the angel comes up again and again and again in our story leading up to Christmas. Guys, remember, the reason for the season is not the gifts under the tree. It's what God gives us. It's the things that God gives us, and it's especially about the greatest gift of all, Jesus. And we will definitely be talking more about that. So guys, verses coming up next. I hope you are getting excited. I hope you're getting your shopping done. If that's what, you got to do some shopping. But hey, it's cool to do that. It's not a bad thing. But guys, remember, who gives us the opportunity to do these things? Who gives us the ability and the being to be able to go out and buy things? And that's God. So put your faith, your trust, and know that He is there with you always. We'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.
But the angel said to them, do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Luke 2:10.